what problems have we encountered over the years? What do we need to put in place to eliminate those errors? And errors will still come up. That's okay. We take that learning, we put that into the system. So the next project, it doesn't happen. So it's just, we're doing it for a reason to ensure that nothing gets missed and that the project runs smoothly.
G'day guys, welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to the Build Insite Podcast. This episode is part 2 and the conclusion to our Builders Panel Chat.
But yeah, how are you guys finding in the industry at the moment with all of your client expectations across the board? We obviously all stay away from shows like The Block and things like that, but a reality with your clients and their expectations versus what we're all seeing in the industry right now.
Maybe I'll jump in because I cannot solve this one. Managing client expectations is the hardest thing to do. And we obviously, you speak it, you write it down, you get signatures, you confirm. This is a big topic. It brings up like communication styles. You can't see it in the video. I'm 6'6". I'm like a high D kind of guy. I talk pretty direct. I feel like I'm a good communicator, but if I'm talking to a little old lady who's just super intimidated and just is not listening to anything I'm saying because of the scenario or whatever, all that EQ has to come into it because this is just communication, right? Client expectations is just someone thinking they were going to get something that was either never going to happen or it is not going to happen, right? It's just trying to set that up. So that's just timelines, cost expectations, the reality of can I come to site? All those basic questions, we all probably answer them. We all probably say that in the middle of a sentence that we're talking about a million other things and the client's just overwhelmed, so they don't retain it. And yeah, managing client expectations is it's my biggest problem at the moment. It's just around, because we're designing a construct, we'll say, okay, Mr. Client, we're about to enter this agreement. This is how long stage 1's going to take. Stage 2 is going to take this long. Your DA will probably happen here. We'll allocate this construction slot for you to start because that will all flow in really well. So we're going to be on site in, say, 11 months building. And in the meantime, we've got this and this to do. And then on the journey, okay, a delay happens here and things happen during design. We'll go, oh, this isn't quite right. Got to get that sorted. We all know how it goes, right? It's just normal part of building. And then somewhere along that timeline, the client's forgotten what you've said or forgotten what they've signed, and then it all happens roughly within a couple of weeks or even a month or so of what you initially said, and then it's a problem. And how do you fix that? I don't know. Happy to hear it.
Yeah, it's just you just have to obviously building that trust early on in the process so that then when hiccups come up during the process, they don't think you're trying to pull the wool over their eyes, and they trust you that what you're doing, if something's delayed, ring them, rip the Band-Aid off, and just deal with it on the spot. And I think if you've built that rapport with them early on, it seems to be a bit smoother. Whereas and I've done it before, or you've avoided something for whatever reason, and you've left it, and then it's become a bigger issue rather than just dealing with it straight away. And I think listing out those expectations and trying to regularly remind them of those expectations might be your contact hours, might be, I can't think of anything else, but just different, just what your expectations are of them and what they can expect of you. And I guess regularly talking about those, just reminding them of what those expectations are.
Do you think, James, that obviously we all have building contracts? Do you think there's a complete misunderstanding that a building contract is there for the benefit of the builder and the client to use as a tool? A lot of things can be sorted out there. Obviously, your working hours and specifications and everything, but all of that's built into a contract. And I feel, there's definitely not a big enough step there for builders going into getting a builder's license to actually understand how to do and execute a contract properly. How many times people would land themselves in absolute shit because they don't understand what a contract is. So I feel that those steps, you might sit there as a builder and go, I don't want to pull that card because that might come across too heavy. But the reality is it's just the basics of the contract and they're not being executed properly.
Dean, I'm going to assume you've read the contracts you use, but when you first started using the contracts, had you read it?
Yeah, I actually grew up with a family of builders and stuff, mate, business people. Helpful. So I actually asked those questions early days, but they still, you go and sign it. I think when I signed my first $1 million house project, it scared the living shit out of me. I was like, what happens if this happens and whatever. But I've made a probably a few years there, I probably went away from reviewing the contracts, and I know it. But reread it. Or this scenario's happened, so revisit that. And even little things like you might get the steps of doing a variation incorrect. That probably happens all the time to people, and they get caught out and lose thousands of dollars. Study that stuff. Don't make the mistake.
But this is one of the things about client expectations is when you have a pre-commencement client agreement and you talk through that process, and then you have a contract which is legal and it's literally almost verbatim about the variation process, and then when a variation comes up and you follow the process, what's this admin fee? What's this for? What's that for? So hold on a second. We spoke about this lots of times. You signed 2 documents and it's been verbally. So this is what I'm talking about, client expectations. I'm actually, like we have a lot of good things. We're a very systemized business. We've got a lot of good things in place. And this comes up every now and then. And it's not like all of our jobs have this problem, but it's just one of those things like how do you fix it? It's a work in progress, and I've been thinking very heavily about that.
Yeah, I wonder in those situations where they are a bit of an outlier, if you can get, I know, you think of processes and pre-commencement documents where you need to get them to sign off, and you work through, if you see subbies on site, you aren't to give them any direction. It all comes through the supervisor, and these are the variation process, and this is what document you'll get to show where we're up to with variations and all this sort of stuff. And knowing the contracts and talking all that through considerably all through that pre-construction phase. But when those things arise, I wonder whether they are just an outlier. Like, I feel like every now and again those things might pop up, but I also think I don't know what else is going on in their life at the same time too. I reckon we've got to have a bit of, whether it's compassion or whatever, empathy around that sort of stuff too, because sometimes when things come up, I just reckon that client's got a fair bit going on at the moment, just outside of what's happening with the build.
Because like obviously for us as builders, we do this day in, day out. This is just a day at the office, right? Yeah. For these clients of ours, this is probably the first and only time they're ever going to do this. So much unknown, so much uncertainty, so much money. Yep. Something happens and they've forgotten all the other conversations, and then they like have this freak out moment. So like we need to know how to build, we need to know how to manage trades, we need to know how to run a business, and we need to know how to manage people, like these relationships. That's why I was bringing it back to like communication style. You hit the nail on the head, empathy. You need to be able to really understand the point of where they're coming from, because when a tough conversation comes up, you don't want to react to it. You want to sympathise and be like, yep, I actually see your point, and let me help you with that.
I think that's the key of that whole pre-construction phase. Like you say, you could be working with them for 12, 18 months to actually, before you get to site, you start to learn what jobs they do, how many kids they've got, have they got kids. You know, got clients who've, a bit older now and just been through some health stuff and whatever. And so to understand that sort of thing, so when they come back and they need to choose a tile or something like that, and said, we've spoken about this a few weeks ago, we need to make this decision, and gets a bit flustered on the spot, that sort of stuff. It's at that stage where take a deep breath, actually just, we'll go through it again. And we're supposed to be there for them, because like you say, we do it all the time and we get so used to it, but for them, they could only do it once in their life. So yeah, it's definitely one of those things of just being probably a bit more gentle, but sometimes also I've never been in the situation where things have got overly on a job and things are going down legal routes and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, it's definitely, client expectations is a huge thing, and I think that would smooth out a lot of builders' issues if you can keep working on improving that. Definitely.
Yeah, I think what you said about the block, obviously from an actual building point of view, those shows don't help us guys, any of us. But yeah, you've just got to keep talking with the client, building that trust with them. Obviously, doing the pre-commencement agreement, doing a contract information session where you really, because you can. I know when I first read a contract, you're reading through it, going, "What do half of these words mean?" But it's you first and foremost getting the understanding of it all, and then being able to explain that to them, because you can say to them, like, there is a page at the end of the contract that goes, you have the right to go speak to a lawyer or have it reviewed. Couldn't imagine that there would be many that would. So they're almost looking at you to dumb it down a little bit and talk them through step by step what it actually means, so they feel comfortable signing.
Yep. So that's one part of what we do. That's obviously a big part, the client-builder relations. But to make a project happen, we've got a whole army of trades and employees behind us. So how's the strategic things that you put in place with the business guys to quality control trades and keep everybody working with a lot of teamwork and working together?
Yep. So what we've recently just changed over project management software to a company called Build, and we've literally, my project manager and I have been going through and just doing a quality control checklist for every single trade, every part of the project that we can think of. We've had some sort of input from other builders and used the networks that we've had to help create those. And it's even thinking of, okay, what problems have we encountered over the years? What do we need to put in place to eliminate those errors? And errors will still come up, but it's okay. We take that learning, we put that into the system. So the next project, it doesn't happen. So it's just, it can probably look like to our trades that we're trying to over-manage and really baby them, but we're doing it for a reason, to ensure that nothing gets missed and that the project runs smoothly.
Yeah, I love that. We've had these QA checklists in place for a while, and it's never a one and done. Like, you can talk to 50 builders, they'll give you 50 different examples, and obviously you need to draw from your own experience, but essentially it's just a checklist, isn't it? Like, once you hit this stage, before we put concrete in the ground, here's 50 points, and 30 of them are not applicable for this job. So you check them off, and it just helps everyone pause. Okay, concrete pour tomorrow, check these things. Yep, we're all good. Oh, hold on a second. There's a bar missing there. Oh, engineer missed that. Better get that one in. And then when those 50 points, they only work for a couple of years, and then the game changes. You go, oh, we made an error. Go back, add it into the template. Yeah. And that's that continuous improvement on the systemization of it. And yeah, we've got these QA checklists we do at all the major stages, which essentially is pre-slab pour, pre-framing, pre-cladding, pre-linings, practical completion, and then even one for handover, just to make sure we're presenting the home nice for the client. But those things are ever growing and dynamic, and they can grow they can get a bit big, but they seem to work for us. But the other thing we're doing as well, just with trades, is it's always hard to keep on top of, because you might have a trade who's really good at their job and you're like, oh, he's a gun, but he's never on time, he always lets you down, he's terrible at quoting, he never sends your insurance information, so you want to keep using because of that reason, and you get a bit stuck on it. So we came up with this really simple idea. It's just I can't remember what I called it, like a trade quality checklist or something. We bring it to the team. So we'll do a monthly toolbox meeting. Bring up, okay, guys, today we're gonna rate the chippy and the plumber. And okay, so we've got 5 or 6 or 7 different areas we rate them on. So one's quality, one's compliance, like one's admin for quoting, the estimator, and everyone will put their bit in. So some guys might be like, quality 10 out of 10, compliance on site, safety, and they've got, he's 10 out of 10, admin 1, and then there's 1% is, does he clean up after himself, all those little things, and it gets a rating out of whatever the total is, out of 70 I think it is. And if it drops below 80%, it's meant to flag straight away. We've got to call this guy and catch up and just say, hey, look, as a company we've rated you like this and we want to keep using you, but these are the areas that we're saying that you're just really lacking in. So this is what our future looks like, and we want to take you with us, but we need you to lift in these areas so then we can help you grow. It's like a supplier development type of thing. So you try the rising tide raises all boats, right? We're just going to take off like a rocket ship and leave everyone behind. You're a bit lonely up there. So you want them all to follow with you. So that's just a real simple way I came up with trying to, so objectively, so really not opinion based, but as a collective, coming up with that rating.
You can almost use that as part of your sales process with your clients too. Just be like, look, here's our quality control. This is what we do even with our trades to ensure that they're meeting our standards. And I think that they would be impressed by that, seeing that the level of detail that you go to, because I couldn't imagine if you look at the majority, not many would actually be doing that level of detail and reviewing the trades that they use and the processes that they do throughout the project.
I need to jump in here for a minute, guys, to thank our sponsors, Backman Builders and Calorie Building. Without the support of these businesses, the Build Insite podcast wouldn't be possible. Take a moment to go and show some support for them so they can continue to support us, bringing you the Build Insite podcast.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think along all those lines of the site work, I think since we've got some more help in the office with admin help has definitely helped us started in the office processes has definitely increased, and we've pretty much got all that sorted. And our next step is to really knuckle down on what I have in my mind as supervisor and owner and doing all those sort of parts of it. But even as we start to move some of our lead carpenters into some of those roles is definitely having that stuff documented so that it is a methodical checklist of checking that slab stuff, your framing before you're putting claddings on and all those types of stuff so that things aren't getting missed. But I think with the trades and subbies and that sort of stuff is we'd always had that thing of, so trying to lock in fixed numbers from their quoting so we can go to contract and that type of stuff, and having open-ended type of who knows how much this is going to cost for phases. And that was really on us as not setting the expectations for our subbies as well. So we've been working on the subbie agreement, and now we've just sent out forms to make sure we've got all the information for their licenses, their insurances and all that sort of stuff. But again, they're all the things we've been able to do in the last 3 or 4 months purely because we've got more admin help, And I think that's the other thing of being able to get all that stuff in place and to improve your business is making sure you've got your admin team that can actually help you do it. And if you don't do it, if you haven't got that help, no wonder things do get lost and left. That's definitely a work in progress for us, but I know this same thing, networking with other builders, you're definitely picking stuff up already. So, yeah.
I think working hand in hand with, you just touched on collecting their insurance details and things like that as well, flowing onto site, there's like systems like Hazard Code that you can do pre-registrations for your contractors in there. That'll actually notify you and them every 12 months when their insurance is coming up for renewal or if their licence is going to expire. Again, it's trying to get trades to understand that you're not just doing it to piss them off. These are the requirements that you need to comply with, and that if they're not signing into site or completing those insurance details, it's doing that little bit of admin work up front that's going to benefit everyone in the long run, because if something ever actually goes wrong, you're not chasing your tail then. But I guess then moving forward, there's a lot of systems to get a project to site and a lot of things that happen in the office while the project is on site. But what about boots on the ground on site? What have you guys implemented? It gets a bit tricky with guys that are starting out if there's a lot on the tools themselves, but as far as actual on the ground site managers or supervisors, how are you guys managing that as well?
Well, I have a project manager that sort of runs the construction side of things for us, so I'm more office-based and we just meet regularly and make sure that everything's running smoothly. A real simple one that we do is we just have a big whiteboard on site. That's what we use for a lot of our daily to-do lists and our little checklists and details. So I just have a quick toolbox meeting in the morning, have a chat with our carpenters, apprentices. They might have some questions, write down any or draw any details that we need. We might be doing some cladding. Okay, this is the detail we're trying to achieve today. And then I guess those tasks that we need to achieve, what needs to happen to tomorrow because the gyp rock is starting next week, any materials that need ordering or anything like that. So that's a very simple process that actually works really well for our team.
Yeah, cool. So I've got a construction manager who kind of heads up all of the building side of things. So underneath him, he's got a couple of, we call them project managers. They're like a hybrid. They do the bit of their own project management, scheduling, and the site supervision. And then under them, there's a small on-site team. So Tim kind of runs that crew.
The hybrid guys, Zach, are they on the tools?
No.
No.
So they're fully off the tools.
Yeah.
We say 95/5, and the 5% on the tools would just be like helping out the trades with shifting some materials or the defects list, cut a bit of silicon, a bit of bits and pieces at the end just to get it going along. They, like I said, we're fairly systemized, so we've got a lot of like dashboards and stuff that we track in terms of the performance, on time, on budget, happy client. We actually try to track all that. But in terms of managing like quality and things like that on site, obviously we've got those QA checklists that I mentioned before. And the other thing I've been trying to develop as well is like some just like essentially a booklet of standard ZJ building construction details. Like when we all build wall frames in South Australia, right? So we all build wall frames, so it's always going to be end frame, and then the cladding is going to vary depending on if it's brick veneer, it could be James Hardie, whatever. So what's our standard build out method? What do we do? And so we can actually pre-draw all them. They're just standard details, put it in a booklet, and that can form part of the training plan for the chippies that we hire, because everyone comes from a different background. They've all got different levels of experience and what their expectation is for a good job, right? So when we say, it doesn't matter what you've learnt, and I'm not saying there's no value in that, but this is how we do it here. So this is your Bible, this is how we build, and you could do as many details as you want. So that's what we're calling our on-site training plan. You hire a chippy, you're not going to train him to be a chippy, but we're going to train you to be a chippy at ZJ. This is how we build. Same level up from that. You've got the site managers or project managers. They should know how to schedule and organise trades and all those sort of things. But how do you do that at ZJ? We've developed a 6-week training plan through our system software when we hire someone new, we put them through this course, and it literally tells them, on this day, you do this training for this week, and this week the topic is X, and at the end of the week, we're going to assess you on it, and it's a tick. And we're not teaching them how to do their job, we're teaching them how we do this job, and as in using our softwares and our systems and things like that. So I'm big on, I've got this sort of mindset around, your company really should be like a training agency. Like, you want to hire at the bottom, teach them and give people career paths for them to move up. So when the labourer wants to get an apprenticeship, great, we've got a program for that. When you finish your apprenticeship and you want to be a leading hand, great, we can level you up for that. And then you can become a site manager, because all we got to do is get you your Cert 4 and do our training program and get some experience under your belt, and then now you can do it. And then we just want to show that path for people. We create a bit of a legacy company. We don't want people rocking up just to get a paycheck, right?
I think there's a really important takeaway in the middle of that as well about getting them to start from the bottom and work their way up. I had the mindset of, a little while ago, we were so short-staffed, we needed to hire someone with experience. You're hunting, you're trying to find someone that you don't need to train, and you get stuck in that. I had a couple of older builders actually pulled me up and they said, look, it's probably not the best way to look at it, because sometimes you get someone that's worked for, like, we're all in this space of wanting to improve ourselves every day. You get an old school builder that's just done the same broken thing for 20, 30 years. An employee that's worked for that builder for 10, 15 years, they're broken. You try and implement, you try and get, massive baggage. You get them into your systems, and all of a sudden you might as well have hired someone that's got absolutely no idea anyway, because they're not going to listen to you, because they'll potentially have that pushback of, no, look, this is how we've always done it. What do I need to do it that way for? Yeah. So it's a bit of an eye-opener. With personal experience with some of our team at the moment, that's actually paid massive dividends. We went out on a limb and hired people that didn't have that much experience, but the way we've been able to mould them compared to some of the people that we did interview, you could just tell that it was going to be too much hard work.
I was talking to my team the other day just quickly about that exact thing, right? So if you have a system and a process about how you do things, you can hire someone with the right attitude, and you can teach them the skills quickly, because if they've got the right attitude, they'll learn it quickly.
Yeah.
If you've got a process to teach them, you can get that. And there's opportunity there for them. So you don't have to pay top dollar, and it's a win for the business and them, because they get to upskill. Mm-hmm. In contrast to that, if you don't have a way that you do things or a way that you train people, and you've got a big problem like your construction manager just left and, oh my God, now I'm in chaos. You've got to go hire the best construction manager in Adelaide, and you're up for 150 grand. Or if your construction manager leaves and you've got a site manager who's just waiting for that opportunity so he can just step up, and now it's so much better for the business to be able to do that.
That's also something important to touch on as well. You just sometimes, if you've got that skilled person that does leave, there's someone there that's potentially ready to take over that role. Being able to take that step back, open your eyes up a little bit more, and let go yourself and learn to delegate a little bit better. That's a really important one.
You see that a lot. At times there might be a certain natured person sitting in the wings that feel they can't take that step up because they feel like someone's there already. I can't try and compete with them, but you might lose someone, and all of a sudden you've got someone taking that fresh step. But you're definitely right, guys. You can't really teach attitude. You can teach knowledge and skills and put them in the right places and give them the tools. If the attitude's not there, you're pushing shit uphill.
Yeah. Luke, you've got a good experience with that at the moment, haven't you? One of your leads has just stepped up into a bit more of a supervisor's role.
Yeah, and probably it's an interesting discussion, because we're right there now, which we're just starting to work through the change of roles. And say site supervisor, what actual does a site supervisor do? Are they calling up the skip bin? Are they organising the site toilet? Or are they managing the trades and all those sorts of stuff? So pulling it right apart. But then also, for me, I'm really probably trying to identify what my real specific role is. Like, I would have worn the business owner's hat, and then the estimating, and then the supervisor on site and stuff like that. But same thing, as more jobs get on the ground, is that lead carpenter is, and we've got probably a couple who are in that same similar phase, but one has gone and done his Cert 4 and probably nearly close to completion. To get that qualification behind him is definitely help him move into that site supervisor's role, but he'll still probably be, it could be 70% still on the tools. But it's starting to move him into what that site supervisor actually does. Definitely interested to hear more about all of that sort of stuff, because it's something that we're navigating at the moment. But I think he's got the mindset, and it's starting to take pressure off of me that all of a sudden he's just gone and rang up Mitre 10 and ordered all this eave sheeting, all the timber to box out your eaves and do all that sort of thing, and rang that through. got the quote back from Mitre 10. Now the admin has basically put it into a PO and it's now been sent off, and I've had nothing to do with it. And that's perfect. And that's exactly where but he's just taken the initiative himself to do it. And so that's what we identify in that sort of phase, I suppose. Yeah.
There's a really good book I've just read called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. Yeah. He's got this unreal saying. It's 80% done by someone else is 100% freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's about lowering your expectations, because when you're trying to learn to delegate, because it is a skill, like you can learn this, right? Yeah. And it takes effort. But if you're doing something and you're a perfectionist and you're doing it like 100% perfect every time, and it takes you 5 hours a week, and you can give that to someone else, and you gain that 5 hours a week back, and it's done at 80%, that's good. Just take that as a win, because now you can take those 5 hours, apply it to a much higher leverage thing, like meeting a new client or whatever, filling up the pipeline, right? Then that's how you have to change your mindset around it, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting then, because we've got a team of, we've got a couple of carpenters, a school-based apprentice, and then 2 other apprentices around third year. But I was talking to one of the third-year apprentices, and I said, how are you going? Are you learning enough from the other guys teaching you on site? Could you do the eaves yourself at the moment? He said, yeah, I reckon I'd probably be pretty right, but I just need a little bit of direction at the start. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Trying to help him start thinking about, because eventually in 12 or 18 months, the expectation is you should be able to do that. And so it's starting to make them, but it's one of those things, again, as the business owner, trying to keep your eye on all these different moving parts of the business. And it can get friggin' hard, because I think probably last year we went through a whole rebranding sort of phase and looking a lot about our purpose and values, and probably took the eye off the ball a little bit of our team. And now it's really been a focus coming into this year of where to get people in the right positions. And say that lead carpenter moves into more supervision, does that mean we need to bring on another carpenter to help as that tradesman? Or are we going to make the decision to utilise more subcontractors to help us get through the work? So they, all of a sudden, everything just keeps moving and just keep navigating it on the way through, which is fun.
It would be nice at times if you could just pause everything and just really map it out, but just the construction industry is just this ever-moving beast that doesn't stop, so you have to just be able to make decisions on the fly, and your thoughts on what a site supervisor could be completely different to what mine is, to what Zak's is, to what you guys is, so it's just however it best suits you.
Yeah,
we need a hyperbolic time chamber. Does anyone know Dragon Ball Z? You get to spend a year in a room and only a day passes outside, so you can go in and just supercharge things. Yeah.
That sounds all right. But we probably all learn, and it's a natural thing, you learn more from failure than you do if stuff's going really good. It's no different for your team. Like you've just said, Luke, if you want to send an apprentice up and do the eaves and say he stuffs it up a little bit, might cost you some money for some material and a little bit of time, but he's learnt from that and he's going to take that next step up. And that just grows. Bigger business, bigger problems, more people to deal with, more money, and so forth as well. Yeah.
Well, guys, that concludes part 2 of our engaging panel chat with James, Luke, and Zak. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to follow along more insights, head over to Instagram and follow build.insite. Also head over to our website, www.buildinsight.com.au. You can find previous and current episodes of the podcast, as well as links to our YouTube and Instagram. Follow along more. Hope you enjoyed the episode, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Let's cue the disclaimer. I need to let you know that myself and the Build Insight team are in no way, shape or form qualified to give you personal or specific business advice. We strongly encourage you seek out the use of professionals for products or when you are making personal or business decisions. Everything discussed during the Build Insight podcast is our own and the guest opinion and personal experience and is of a general nature only. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one.